Good morning. Today we will be discussing risk analysis in capital investing. We say that risk analysis is one of the most complex and slippery areas in capital investing. We know that risk is there in every business decision, and same is with capital investing. In capital investing decision also, risk is involved. Capital budgeting involves estimation of costs and benefits over long period of time. And because this estimation cannot be done with perfection, with certainty, risk is there in capital budgeting. If all the forecasts about futures can be made with certainty and accuracy, we can say situation is determinate, and indeterminate or certain future risk will not be there. But since this cannot happen because future is uncertain, in future occurrence of different events cannot be anticipated with surety, with guarantee, risk is there in capital investing. This risk is to be analyzed. Now, what is risk? Risk, simply speaking, is a situation where cash flows occurring from a proposal are not known with certainty. That means some degree of uncertainty is there in the situation. Theoretically speaking, difference is there between risk and uncertainty. That difference is also to be done in this PPT. Risk, we say, is a situation when your actual return may be different from expected return. Higher the possibility of this difference, more is the risk. So in simple terms, you can say risk is nothing but variability in return. Now, risk is different from uncertainty. Uncertainty is a situation where no precedence is there. In this situation, no information is available about the cash flows, or if cash flow information is there, certain information is not there, so that we can assign probabilities to different situations or different cash flows. In risk, this probability can be assigned to different outcomes, right? So if probabilities can be assigned to different cash flows, different outcomes, then we say situation of risk is there, and with the help of this probability distribution, you can measure risk. But in the situation of uncertainty, probabilities cannot be assigned to different outcomes, and in the absence of probabilities, you cannot measure uncertainty. So theoretically, difference is there in risk and uncertainty, though in practical life, we use these terms interchangeably. Now, why this risk arises? Risk may arise because of different sources. And on the basis of these sources, we can broadly classify risk into systematic risk and unsystematic risk. Systematic risk arises because of external factors, because of market related factors, and therefore these factors are uncontrollable factors. So systematic risk is that portion of the total risk which is attributable to journal or market related factors which impact all the firms. If you increase number of securities in your portfolio, then this risk cannot be eliminated. Reason being, this is there in each and every security. It is impacting every security to a larger or smaller extent, but every security is being impacted by systematic risk. So through diversification, this risk cannot be eliminated. This is known as non-diversifiable risk. Unsystematic risk is that portion of the risk which is attributable to firm specific causes. Since this risk is firm or industry specific, you can say it can be reduced through efficient diversification. So if your portfolio is efficient, larger the number of securities in the portfolio, lower will be the unsystematic risk. That means through efficient diversification of the portfolio, unsystematic risk can be reduced, but systematic risk cannot be reduced. Systematic risk arises from sources like market related factors which take entire market up or down, that means bullish or bearish trends in the market, or changes in interest rates or inflation related factors, that means purchasing power risk. Sources of unsystematic risk, these are business risk and financial risk. We can see the relationship between risk and level of diversification with the help of this diagram. Systematic risk we have done is non-diversifiable risk, and unsystematic risk can be diversified if on x-axis we take level of diversification, that is number of securities in the portfolio, and on y-axis expected risk. This line indicates systematic risk, that means whatever is the level of diversification of the portfolio, systematic risk is same. This curve indicates total risk, and difference between total and systematic, these lines, these are indicating unsystematic risk. See, with increase in level of diversification, systematic risk is same, but unsystematic risk is reducing. That means unsystematic risk can be diversified by increasing number of securities in the portfolio, but systematic risk is non-diversifiable risk. Now, how to incorporate risk in capital budgeting? Number of techniques they are there. Some sophisticated techniques like probability or simulation, decision tree, these are there. But commonly practiced traditional techniques are three techniques. These are payback period method, risk adjusted discount rate, and certainty equivalent approach. These three are in your syllabus. Payback period method we have done in techniques of evaluation also. Payback period is nothing but the time period which is taken to recover original investment made in a proposal. This you can say is effective life of the proposal. If an investment is considered more risky, in that situation, management may set shorter target payback period, right? So shorter payback period is fixed for that as target even when NPV is positive or IRR exceeds the hurdle rate. So in payback period method, risk is adjusted by reducing the target payback period. This way, risk is adjusted in this method. So this approach assumes that risk is a function of time. Longer the time period, more will be the risk, and that's why further a benefit lies in future. The more uncertain it is likely to be. That's why by setting shorter payback period, we try to manage risk and capital budgeting. The method is very simple method. It is straightforward method. It is taken as a measure of liquidity also. We are trying to recover the initial investment made in the proposal as early as possible. So it indicates liquidity of the proposal also. But problem is that it fails to measure exact risk. If three proposals are there, how much exactly is the risk involved in these three proposals? It cannot be measured through payback period method. Though this method say that risk is a function of time, it doesn't incorporate time value of money, right? Time value of money, that means discounted cash flows, are not considered in payback period method. And one major limitation of the method is it ignores cash flows after payback period. If a proposal is giving huge cash flows after payback period, it is completely ignored in payback period method. So you can say this is not adequate method of risk adjustment, though it is commonly used. This is oldest method of adjusting risk and capital budgeting. An improvement over payback period method is risk adjusted discount rate method, where explicitly we incorporate risk in decision making. This method says that to adjust risk and capital budgeting, adjust the discount rate. That means incorporate risk in the discount rate, right? It calls for adjusting the discount rate to reflect the project risk. The reason is simple: your risk return trade off. Higher the risk, more will be the expected return. And higher the expected return, more will be the cost of capital for the concern. That means higher will be the discount rate. So cash flows from a risky project should be discounted at relatively higher discount rate as compared to other proposals which are less risky, right? So risk adjusted discount rate is nothing but risk free rate plus risk premium. This risk free rate, this indicates return for time, and this indicates return for bearing risk. Higher the risk in the proposal, more should be this risk premium, right? Now, how much risk premium is to be added to risk free rate? It totally depends upon nature of capital vesting decision, though it may be subjective decision of the manager, but depending upon the perception of the management regarding risk involved in the proposal, this risk premium is to be added to risk-free rate. Suppose a proposal is there for replacement decision. In that situation, you can add some risk premium, but if decision relates to expansion as compared to replacement involves more risk, so more risk premium is to be added. Suppose proposal relates to expansion outside this city or outside this country, then higher risk is involved, then more risk premium should be there, right? So in risk adjusted discount rate, we adjust the discount rate, we add risk premium to risk free rate. Depending upon how much risk is there, we adjust the discount rate. So risk premium depends upon nature and extent of risk involved. Decision criteria remains the same. In NPV technique, we discount cash flows now using risk adjusted discount rate. If NPV is positive, accept the proposal, otherwise reject the proposal. In IRR, calculated IRR is now compared with risk adjusted discount rate. If IRR is more than RADR, then accept the proposal, otherwise reject the proposal. Regarding risk adjusted discount rate method, it is simple to understand, reason being it is based on your risk return trade-off. It is commonly applied in practice. Higher the risk, more is the expected return. Higher the expected return, more is the cost of capital. Cost of capital we use in discounting the future cash flows. So higher the risk, more should be the discount rate. It is based on risk return trade-off. Here we are incorporating risk explicitly in decision making. But the problem is regarding measurement of RADR. It is subjective, as I have already said, that it depends upon perception of the manager regarding the risk. It is difficult to find RADR, subjectivity is there. You are adjusting the discount rate, not the cash flows. Many people argue that for risk, cash flows are to be adjusted. We here are not adjusting the cash flows. That means numerator is not adjusted, only the denominator of the equation involving discount rate that is adjusted. One major problem with RADR is that we are adjusting time and risk together. In the discount rate, adjustment for time is there and adjustment for risk is also there. It leads to compounding of risk over time. Here assumption is that risk increases constantly with time, and this assumption, this practice is not a desirable practice. Another technique to adjust risk and capital budgeting decision is certainty equivalent method. This is theoretically considered to be a better technique than radar. Reason being, here we adjust cash flows using certainty equivalents, right? Certainty equivalents show how risky a proposal is. Higher the certainty equivalent, lower is the risk involved in a proposal. That means cash flows are more certain. So certainty equivalent, it shows how certain a particular cash flow is. If cash flow is completely certain, then certainty equivalent will be equal to 1. Then depending upon if certainty is not full, then lower certainty equivalents will be there. Higher the risk, lower will be the certainty equivalent, right? After finding certainty equivalent, we adjust cash flows with their respective certainty equivalent. By multiplying cash flows with certainty equivalent, we get certain cash flows. These certain cash flows are used in capital budgeting decisions. If you have to discount these certain cash flows, you will be using risk-free rate to discount these certain cash flows. So in this method, we incorporate risk by adjusting cash flows of the proposal. Cash flows are adjusted using certainty equivalents, and then risk-free rate is used to discount adjusted cash flows. Method is conceptually superior to RADR method as it does not assume that risk increases with time at a constant rate. We adjust cash flows and not the discount rate. For each year, depending upon the risk level, certainty equivalents may be different. This method explicitly recognizes risk and incorporates risk by deflating cash flows. Risk and time, these two are adjusted separately in this method. That's why this method is considered to be better than risk adjusted discount rate method. We adjust risk in the cash flows and we adjust time in the discount rate. And this was not there in RADR method. In RADR method, risk and time, these are adjusted together, right? But problem is there with certainty equivalent method also. This is tedious method. Subjectivity is there in finding certainty equivalents. Again, the certainty equivalent, its calculation, it depends upon perception and preference of the manager, and some people find it difficult to understand. We can do one numerical also on this. Cash outflow at 0 period is 1 lakh. Cash inflows are 50,000, 60,000 and 40,000 for 3 years. That means life of the proposal is 3 years. Risk-free rate is 6% and risk-adjusted discount rate is 20%. You have to find which proposal should be accepted. Firstly, using certainty equivalent method, what we have to do, take years, take cash inflows for these 3 years. These certainty equivalents, these should be given in the question. Using certainty equivalent, find certain cash inflows. Multiply 50,000 with 0.9, 60,000 with 0.7, 40,000 with 0.6. Using certainty equivalents, find certain cash inflows, right? Now use these cash inflows to find NPV. Whenever you are using certainty equivalent, keep this thing in mind. Discounting is to be done using risk-free rate. That means 6%. So risk adjusted discount rate should not be used if you are using certainty equivalent approach. So present value factor take at 6%. Using these present value factors, find present value of certain cash inflows. This way you will be finding present values. Total present value of cash inflows is coming out to be 99,975. Deduct from that cash outflow, this is 1 lakh. So NPV is coming out to be minus 25. Since NPV is negative, reject the proposal, right? I'm again repeating, when you are using certainty equivalent approach, find certain cash inflows, discount these cash inflows using risk-free rate. After discounting your certain cash inflows, that means after finding present value of cash inflows, deduct from that cash outflow, find NPV. If NPV is positive, accept the proposal, otherwise reject the proposal. Since RADR is also given in the question, we can use this technique also. If you are using risk adjusted discount rate, use that on simple cash inflows, right? These are cash inflows. Take present value factor at risk adjusted discount rate. That means 20%. Find present value of cash inflows. Sum these up. Find total present value of cash inflows. This is 1,06,450. Deduct from that cash outflow 1 lakh. NPV is coming out to be 6,450. Since NPV is positive, using this method, you can accept the proposal. Again, the certainty equivalent approach is considered to be conceptually superior than RADR method. So we can go by this approach. You can reject the proposal. So quickly, the difference between RADR and certainty equivalent approach. In RADR, we incorporate risk by adjusting the discount rate. It deals with denominator of NPV formula. Numerator, that means cash flows, we are not touching. Only denominator, discount rate, is adjusted. RADR uses risk-free discount rate plus risk premium as the discounting factor. Adjustment for time and risk is made together in this method. This is based on the implied assumption that risk of proposal increases at a constant rate over life of the proposal. And this assumption is not very right assumption. It leads to compounding of risk over time, which is not a desirable practice. In certainty equivalent approach, what we do, we incorporate risk by adjusting the cash flows using certainty equivalents. It deals with numerator of the NPV formula. In numerator, we take cash flow and cash flows are adjusted. Risk-free discount rate is used and risk is incorporated through certainty equivalent in cash flows. Keep this thing in mind. In discount rate, we are adjusting time, and in cash flows, we are adjusting risk. That means adjustment for risk is made in certainty equivalents and then in cash flows, and adjustment for time is made in discount rate. These two are not adjusted together. Different degrees of risk may be involved in different years, so certainty equivalent for different years may differ. Theoretically, we say this method is superior way to adjust the risk. So from this chapter, theory portion may be there or practical question from certainty equivalent approach may come. Thank you.